There's a TV show that I really love, and my wife really loves it. She kind of got me into watching it, and at first I went, "Oh, this is a romance. I'm not going to like this." Not that I'm not a sensitive romantic guy. It ended up being one of my favorite television shows of all time. It's called Mr. Sunshine. Now, I'm a bit of a sucker for historical dramas, so I used to love things like The Pillars of the Earth and Shogun and all those rich man, poor man, all those big historical dramas. I love those big budget ones. They're great. So Mr. Sunshine, which I'm going to show one of the trailers of, was set in the starts in the late 1800s, which is the era where Korea was coming out of its hermit kingdom status, and all these other major powers were trying to open it up and economically exploit it. So it's the end of the Joseon dynasty, the last Joseon emperor. And you have the Russians, the Americans, the British, the French, the Chinese, and the Japanese all in there trying to take control of this poor, defenseless little country, because it was, compared to them, and exploit it economically, the Japanese particularly. So I'll show you a little bit of this trailer.
적인가? 아군인가?
네 해병대 대위 유진초예요.
휘하는 내가 누군지 모르지 않소.
아마 내 긴 이야기가 끝나면 우린 따로 떠나게 될 거예요.
So the first thing is it's the weirdest title because you think, what's that got to do with Mr. Sunshine? Where does that come from? Someone's just slipped in through the back door. Gary.
I didn't want to pop in the middle of that trailer.
Yeah, well, there was too much romance in it for you. It was very romantic.
I was watching it on YouTube, and then I bounced over, and I'm like, okay, I'll jump in now.
The thing about that trailer is it displays exactly how romances work out in Korean TV shows. They stand staring at each other for minutes on end. Don't even touch. Now, that couple in that show, the entire show is centered around their romance. I don't think they even kiss. To the end of the show, they barely even touch each other.
Clearly not an American show.
Exactly. Like American show, they would have been in bed within 2 minutes. So
and then decided they like each other.
Yeah, and then decided they hated each other. No,
let's get the fucking out of the way.
and to be honest, I preferred it that way. It was great. The tension between them and the unrequited love because of their positions was great. It made
what
for
creates tension.
And at the end, I'm gonna give it away. He sacrifices himself to save her life after they finally declare their love for each other. And it's awesome stuff. Beautiful cinematography, gorgeously filmed, beautiful set recreation of the 1800s. Just everything about that show was quality.
Well, it falls under the category of what I've talked about before, that people don't understand, especially Westerners don't understand romance anymore. That the truest form of romance is the willingness to lay down your life for another person.
Yes, and they both absolutely love each other, even though they've never so much as slept together.
Hi, Court. Hi, Alex.
And yeah, hey.
Hi, Monkey.
So I actually like that, and I'm not saying everything in Korea is like that. There are obviously Korean movies where people are leaping into
Oh, I've
bed.
seen some Korean crap, and that's
Yeah.
crap with a K.
But the mainstream stuff, and Mr.
Crap.
Sunshine is mainstream Korean, a huge hit on mainstream Korean television.
Yeah.
Same guys that made the Guardian show. But it's better, and it captures the period well. There's a lot of. It's not just romance. There's a ton of action. A lot of the main Yakuza guy in it, who's supposedly representing the Japanese Yakuza, but he's really a Korean. He does a lot of great action stuff in it. There's a lot of sword fighting, a lot of shooting and explosions and whatever. And the girl is the key to everything, of course. That is one thing.
Yeah.
She's the key to everything because she's part of the Korean resistance to the Japanese. The American guy.
When is this taking place, in the 1800s or early 1900s?
Starts in about 1888 and it ends in about 1910. So it goes on for quite a while. Let me just.
I like period pieces like that. I really do.
I love it. It's beautifully recreated. The guy here on this side is a guy, the guy that's got the Yakuza gear on is Yu Yeon Suk, and he is been in a lot of other things. He is brilliant in this. And the thing is, when you see him without the gear on, he kind of looks like your average K-pop guy. As soon as he's got the tash and the goatee and he gets the samurai gear on, he looks the part. He smolders in this. And they're all great. The three men all have the hots for the girl. One's a fiance, but an arranged marriage. This is Lee Byung-Hun plays an American Marine because he was adopted by Americans as an orphan and taken to America when he was a little kid. And he comes back as an American soldier to be part of the American delegation in the embassy, but he's also a spy. But he meets the girl because he sees her out at night shooting some Japanese guy or whatever, and he goes, "Oh, that's interesting," and so meets her. And at first he's trying to exploit her for information, but then they start to fall for each other. The girl at the end runs the hotel, which is the center of all the intrigue going on. All the foreigners live in it. All the deals go down there, and she hears everything. So she's a spy, but you don't know she's a spy for the Japanese or for the Koreans or for somebody else. And her husband who she hates, is a brutal Japanese politician who's trying to control Korea. So the whole thing is set amongst the Japanese occupation, and Americans are trying to do stuff to the Russians, the Chinese. It's a beautiful show. If you love historical dramas, it nails it. Absolutely nails it. I learned so much about Korean history, and it's very emotional at the end. Very emotional, genuinely emotional. I loved it. And people would say, "Oh, that's a girly movie," whatever. No, it's got something for everybody.
Yeah, so some people think that romance is for women. It's like, no, if it's done well. I mean, somebody said something, about tragedy. And the fact is, some of the greatest romantic stories throughout history are tragic stories.
Yeah,
with great tragedy in them.
Ultimately, it's a tragedy. You see The Last Emperor, who's an actor who's been in a number of things we've watched since. He's basically powerless to the destruction of his country with all these foreign. I did cry, actually. The bit at the end of the movie is super emotional, and I'm a sensitive guy. And these three guys are great because they start off as rivals and not liking each other. They're very different guys. They all love the same woman. And by the end of the movie, everybody understand everybody enough, and they understand each other enough that they help each other.
Well, having been in the military and dealt with the kinds of people that I've dealt with over the years, that's something that really rings true because three of my closest friends whom I've met since I was in the Army, we were very competitive with each other, kind of shit on each other, and often didn't really like each other when we first met. And then 30 years we've been like best friends. It's really weird.
But those three grow close even though they're supposed to be all rivals. But I mean, again, they don't grow close and they hugging, kissing each other and whatever. It's still all very reserved, but they save each other's lives at various points and they do the right thing because they're all actually good guys. This guy's really interesting because, again, he was Korean but taken to Japan as a kid. His parents were slaughtered because they were lower class butchers. Butchers were the outcasts of society then. They did the meat version. Well, his parents were murdered by one of the rich families in the show. And he got taken and raised as in Japan by a Yakuza guy, and he comes back supposedly representing the Japanese, but secretly he wants to do other things.
I'm not sure what you're asking about, Court. I have not seen this show. I'm going to watch it now.
I will give you the caveat that it's fairly slow. It's certainly the beginning.
I don't mind slow burns.
And it features the romance, but to me the romance is integral to the story, not additional to it. It's not like
the only thing
let's
I hate
get
about
guys
slow burns is when they get finger waggy or don't take us someplace interesting.
No, this one is. It has to be the way it is.
Now, if you want to know, Brian and Courtney, as she asked, Anima has watched me get emotional, and she will tell you and I think she's still in chat. She can tell you what makes me cry. I get emotional with the true romantic moments of that personal sacrifice when someone lays down their life for somebody else.
Yeah.
As well as like we were watching Full Metal Jacket last night, and I get emotional in Cowboy Days.
Yeah, I mean, I quite often get emotional at stuff. I got emotional in this at a few places. There's an example of the kind of great scene shots and cinematography you'll get in this movie. It looks gorgeous. They really put a lot of
I do. I'm looking at it now with these images, and it's yep, you've turned me on to it. I'm going to watch. Okay,
Yeah.
she said something. Let's